You can see you got people here early, so it's great.
Thank you.
When you started AUTO1, would you have thought by now you really make it to this size? Is it a surprise for you also, or are you just executing according to plan?
No, I think that would be a little too funny to tell. But interesting is the other way around. People say, when did you really decide that this is the business model? Because Christian and I, we started in a, I don't know, 10, 12 square meter room. And looking at business models, we were both coding a little.
And you're, just for the ones who don't know, Hakan, you were at Rocket.
We were both at Rocket. And so we had an e-commerce DNA. And then people say, when did you go for this model? And I say, I don't know. So we sold 8 cars, and then it took off so fast, and now I'm here. It's like, you don't make the decision that you say no, and let's weigh it off, and it just takes off. Yeah? You just have customers coming in, you open the first branch, then you have 3, then you have 10, then you have 400, and then you say, oh, wow, what happened?
I mean, for the ones, maybe you explain quickly the
sure.
business model, what it is in a few words, and then we can go into the...
So AUTO1 solves 2 problems, 2 major problems, one on the consumer end and one on the B2B end. The consumer problem is, how do I sell my car?
Yeah.
And I think there was in 2012, when we started, there was no comfortable way to do it, no online way to get an appointment, and most of the problems back then in the industry are still existing today, which puts us in a very nice position. So if you want to sell your car, we will take care of it, and we will buy it, and you will go home and have the contract done, get your money in your account, done.
So you don't need to go through your local car dealer who rips you off. You can sell it actually at a market price.
Actually, your local car dealer will not rip you off. I think it's unfair. People say, they come with a, let's say you come with an old Mercedes and say, Volkswagen, they really gave me a bad price. Mm-hmm. It's not their job to sell old Mercedeses. That's a little bit the mismatch in the industry where you say, they cannot retail this.
That's a trade-in business, right?
Exactly, and the matching rate of a trade-in is so low that the Volkswagen dealership who has to buy it has to say, what do we do with it? I have to store it, I have to transport it, I don't know anybody who wants this, there's liabilities and so on. That's the second problem we're solving. So as a consumer you can sell, as a dealer you need stock, but you need the right stock. The Volkswagen dealership wants a 5-year-old red Golf for an entry-level customer who comes in and says, I love this car, and then they go in the brand experience and hopefully stay with that brand. This car you can get from AUTO1. Mm-hmm. So if you want so, we're making the perfect matchmaking by buying long tail, buying all the consumers' cars, and then redistributing them in the network. We have 55,000 dealer partners who buy from us all across Europe, and we also take care of the logistics and language barriers.
Like 40% or 45% of the cars, and that's really interesting because you are enabling it, are being sold and distributed cross-border.
Exactly.
Where you have like different prices and also different supply and demand country by
different
country.
Taste. It can really be.
So you internationalize a local dealer, and you give them the ability to trade cars cross brands, because when you are
exactly.
So let's talk about some numbers. How much money have you raised now?
I think, I mean, there's more than 1 billion euros investment in AUTO1 to date, as you can see and follow from the press.
And the industry, so 1 billion, and then you're trading now, how many cars you do now, roughly?
Last year we traded 420,000, and we're still on a good growth track.
So you're obviously growing fast, because the market is huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many cars are being sold in Europe, roughly, per year?
When you think about used cars in the core markets, it's 30 million plus cars.
So you are still, in terms of percentages, a long way to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the OEMs, I think experience that the OEMs are also digitizing their business. Do they see you as an opportunity or as a threat? What do you think?
When we started, I think they didn't really know what to do with us. And we were too small, let's face it. I mean, these are really big companies. Now, actually, I see a very big mind change, because the whole DNA in companies like Daimler, driven by the CEO, they want to be more startup. Yeah? They want to be more innovative. They want to be more flat hierarchies. So these people also now want to outsource things and say, this is not our core competence. Yeah? Daimler AG is not an expert in 12-year-old Corollas and shouldn't be. because we need to develop electric vehicles, car sharing, CO2 footprint, and so on. So they're much more open these days. And of course, we have this issue with diesel cars in Germany, and you need an international player for that. Yeah? It is a national problem, but there's only an international solution. And I'm happy that we can help there. We're building some white label solutions for OEMs. Some start at the very front, where they say, can you even help us pricing on our website and the whole customer journey? And some say, hey, we just want to get rid of those cars. We want to help our dealerships, that they are not stuck on cars.
Because eventually you're good for the industry, because you're increasing the liquidity.
Exactly.
And people have the ability to buy new cars and switch theoretically from brand to brand.
If they want.
So what is the lesson you learned? We know each other for 4 years. I think that there was a time where you were like actively fundraising and you were meeting many, many investors. And at some point, we had the same discussion yesterday with Tarek from About You, who got like one key investor, bestseller, and suddenly the whole market switched and said, okay, we want to in also. But what is your advice for an entrepreneur who is raising a big round and where the doors are not that open because there hasn't been like at Uber or Airbnb, like a whole host of investors in. And you know, when there are already 20, 30 investors invested and you get it wrong, you can always say, well, everyone got it wrong. But when there are not so many, and you were going the hard way, I remember in the early days, what advice you have for entrepreneurs when it's difficult to raise the money?
I think the most important advice is talk to your existing shareholders, face to face, sit down with them, nail them down and say, who should we talk to? And we're not standing up until you've gone through everybody that you know. Because when you think about it, these industries are very well connected. I'm not in the room when they do this, but I think that when VCs meet, they say, your portfolio, my portfolio.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, this is early, you could invest here, you could follow up there. And so it is a natural ecosystem. And when I look at our fundraising history, it's always been built on the previous shareholder. There was some relationship that could say, at least vouch for the company and say, this is not a waste of time. Now,
Okay.
80–90% of the cases, still you won't walk out with a term sheet. But I think there is much more value in your existing cap table than you think. And so I think even if it's uncomfortable, you have to spend an hour and say, okay, who else? Yeah? I'm getting more coffee, stay down. Who else should we talk to? Instead of going on public lists and walking around and being very arbitrary about, yeah, there's this company, why not? So it's not, it's very close. It's actually, the solution is closer than you think usually.
So focus on what you have and then build from there. In the UK, I was surprised to see, in how many countries are you operating now?
So we buy in 11 countries, if you want, so the Western European countries that are large enough in terms of used car sales, typically over 1 million cars a year is a little bit the mark that we see there. And then we sell in every country as many as possible, today in 33 countries. And we are a little bit the poster child of EU freedom of trade.
Yeah.
Because the cars, when they are registered in one country, you can use them, ship them, register them from anywhere to anywhere. And I think that also shows the power of the European Union, because there are no trade restrictions, and you can see how much value it generates, just the cross-border trade. I was once talking to a CEO of an OEM, and he told me he thinks we create 1,500 euros value by bringing liquidity from any point to any point in Europe, because that's a little bit the price differences he sees. And he said there's enough on the table for you, for us, and for the customer to actually, when you bring that value.
So were you wise by not entering the UK market? Were you anticipating the Brexit?
No, it was a very simple thing, and when people hear it, they laugh the next second. It's a right-hand wheel. It's just a different car. And all our markets, other markets are compatible. And if you want to trade cars that are driven here in UK, you need very different outlets. And these are not in front of your doorsteps, and you don't have the power of the European Union. You really have to go in Southeast Asia or Australia or some countries in Africa. And there's not this network power.
And the UK market is not too important from Yeah, I guess the overall perspective, so your investors are fine that you are not here.
And then Brexit came.
And then- I know, you
people
called
called
it
the
early.
next morning and said, thank God we're not in the UK. God bless right-hand wheels. Because when you have stock, the currency exposure, that can be really dangerous. I mean, if you lose 20% on the local stock, and I mean, we never had that. Our model is we have a euro business. And we don't have FX exposure, tiny little bit in Sweden, and you can forward it and so on, but the core of our business is European.
And there are also players who came up in emerging markets. I think one
Yeah.
in Middle East, we have them later, then one in India. I guess for you, the European Union is such a big market that you do not depend on emerging markets, or do you have a strategy to go there?
No, I mean, we look at all markets and we look at the KPIs.
You
I
said
think
1 million cars has to be like the market size
I
for
think
you
that
to
then
go actively to buy.
it becomes interesting. No, I think I wish them all the best. We see each other sometimes. We saw them yesterday, compare some notes. It's funny because everybody asks the same questions, and how do you do this? We did it this way. We've shared some software knowledge.
Maybe you should do an association and put some pressure on the OEMs to open up.
No, I think, I mean, I wish everybody the best luck there, and then we're not really touching each other's businesses, and it's an interesting model anyway.
Let's talk quickly about the classifieds, who obviously were the first players who helped the dealers to digitize and to work online. Auto Scout, Mobile.de are the two market leaders in Germany. And we were talking about it, that the competition on the sourcing side is there, but on the demand side, they have different customers. They usually sell to consumers. You are usually selling to dealers. Do you think that the classified players need to adapt, or is it actually also a future model which will be outdated, like the newspapers back then?
I think the customer wants a more transactional business. Classifieds are 20 years old. Classifieds are very good for customers to interact with the dealer. And if I want to browse a wide selection of cars, and I want to have a special experience, I want to have my finance cleared and so on, I think it's still a fantastic tool for dealerships to present their goods and for the consumer to buy. Because they can also transact, they have a professional on the other end, you click on I'm interested, for sure, they will call you, offer you a test drive, and it will become transactional very, very quickly. When you are in C2C, both sides are not really managed. And our experience is also with the content that we have on our website that people really want to be informed, but as structured as the process is, the easier it is, the more comfortable it is for them. And we do help, we have the product that if customers say, hey, I don't want to sell to you now, and I want to optimize on price, that's not a problem. We want to help you anyways. If you want that we market that car on classifieds because you think it's worth more, we have a dashboard, we can list it. We took all the pictures, we did the test drive, we've done all the work. It's about solving a problem for the customer. It's not we're buying your car, we help you out of your car in whatever case. And therefore, but we see at the end of the day, it's a very complex transaction. And then for us, luckily, then the customers come back to the main customer journey and say, hey, I tried this. Thank you for showing me. It gives me peace of mind. But you were right. And now is the price still good? And then they still sell to us.
So the classifieds will stay around, but they need to deliver more value to the customer and closer to the transaction, I guess. How important is data for you? I have a car and I'm thinking of selling it, but I don't know the price. And I think Zillow in the US, which is in the real estate space, they started just with valuation tools like Julia here. Have you thought about helping car owners to monitor the car price and do like almost a data product? Is that something you offer? Because if there's one player who has real-time or real valuation data for cars, it's AUTO1, right?
And of course, I mean, as a consumer, if you come to our website, that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah? We help you with the valuation of your car, and then we also monitor it for you.
You monitor it, so...
Yeah. But, I mean, on a B2B scale, of course, many people knock on our doors and say, hey, how much is the full database? And of course, it's not for sale. I think we've spent so much time and effort in building this, and I think we really have an advantage over anybody in the market because we see both ends. We know what customers sell for because we really buy it, we pay it. So it's not...
It's real data.
Yeah, I mean, if you list a car on the classifieds for 20,000 and you take it off 1 day later, I guess you will have sold it very close to that price. If you take it off 6 weeks later, only God knows what you sold for and what else you had to give the buyer. If it's a dealer, you might have given extras and tires. If it's private individual, you will have haggled the price down. Now we buy it, so we know the real price. And then on the dealer end, when they buy from us, again, we know how fast did it sell, to whom did it sell, and then it becomes a little bit more scientific. How relevant is the price setting of this? It's a little bit like Google and AdWords. And so if one new dealer buys a car and there's a very high price level, it doesn't have the same message as a price set by somebody who buys 5,000 cars a year and there's a very deep auction, so you know second, third, fourth, 40th bidder. And we can derive in real time, if you want, so the whole trend of the European car prices, and that's not for sale.
So the last 12 months, we saw huge European internet companies IPOing. Spotify, Adyen, Delivery Hero, Farfetch, these are all like 5 billion plus. Now you are the largest value private internet company in Europe. We learned that your market share currently is still quite small, so there's massive opportunity left. Do you need more capital to execute your business plan? Because the working capital requirements by buying all these cars, you said you buy over 500,000 cars per year. Do you need more capital? We have lots of investors here who are like very keen to be part of the story.
I think two views on capital. One is the working capital, sure. Over time, we have become more and more efficient and a lot more efficient, so we can do, if you want, so double the business with the same working capital these days. Then, because of that, and a good track record and good relationship, our existing banks who have helped us from day one come to us and say, hey, you know what, we see your data in real time, which we're, as a lender, not used to. It's a very comfortable situation. And how about we increase your LTV? Or we even get better rates without really aggressively fighting for it.
So that's not equity, that's basically...
That's on the debt side. So, and I think we've shown that we can manage a working capital balance sheet so well that it becomes a technical function. It could become a rated paper. I mean, it's so unvolatile that is the debt end, but for us, it's gotten more and more efficient.
Not just managing your working capital well, you also manage a quite large shareholder base quite well. How many investors do you have?
It's actually not the list. It's a cap table of 13, 14 shareholders. And usually I call them dear friends and shareholders. It's a small group.
Dear friends and shareholders.
And most of them have been with us for a very long time. Some have joined just lately, as everybody's seen. But I think it's still a small enough group that you could bring everybody on one phone call without making it some noisy thing. And that makes it comfortable.
And if you look at the shareholders, you get lots of value from them. Is it interesting to get different perspectives, or sometimes you wish, I hope there's only one? No, you get probably from everyone.
We do get from every single one. And one of the early stage investors, I'll not mention names now, when we did the Series A, and back then I didn't understand it, to be honest. He said, Hakan, look, 99% of my job is getting out of your way. And looking back, that's very smart, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be, if you're an entrepreneur, and Christian and I were just running, you don't want armchair coaches telling you how to do your business. But the moment you need them, you want them to pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. And then if you really have an issue, you want that they fly in and help you or join you when you want to really win a key customer. And we were lucky enough that I can say all of my shareholders are with that DNA, where they say, as long as you don't need me, hands off. The moment you need me, call me. And I think that's the best relationship that you can have between entrepreneurs and investors.
Excellent. Hakan, I'm very proud to have you here. Thank you so much. Hope to see you back in Berlin, which is your home turf.
Exactly.
And keep up the European digital flag. You are one of those stories which we really cherish, because you go into a big market with a new product back then, and you deserve all the credit, you and your partners. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.